Good afternoon, folks. We are here for the 1 p.m. docket, the November 5th BMZA. We ask that you turn off all cell phones, keep talking to a minimum. Of course, it disturbs the proceedings. They're being recorded by video and by audio. If you need to have a conversation, just feel free to step out in the hall and conduct that conversation. The board will vote on each case and make a decision at the end of the docket. If you would like to experience a civics lesson, feel free to stay and you will hear the decision at the conclusion of the deliberations here today. Otherwise, you can call the BMZA office tomorrow morning after 9 a.m. That number is 410-396-4301. Again, that's 410-396-4301. Otherwise, you will receive your resolution in the mail within approximately 30 days. We ask that you please do not do any work until your resolution is received. And of course, we ask that you not do any work in Baltimore City without pulling the proper permits. I'm going to address the issue of postponements. We didn't have any on the docket, but I think we have one now that we're going to, one is being sought. I'll just call that case.
Case 2019-373, 1321 Western Avenue.
Oh, there we go.
Afternoon, Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin, Greenberg, on behalf of the applicant.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Keith Hinder on behalf of TrustWorks, the appellee.
Very well. Okay.
Hinder. H-I-N-D-E-R.
And case 2019-373, 1321 Western Avenue. This is to appeal the issuance of permit number COM 2019-76217. On and on and on and on. It's a very long description. As you all know, for this particular matter, there would be the availability of only 3 board members to deliberate and render a decision. One board member will be abstaining, another is not voting today. Under our rules here, if there are 3 board members to deliberate and decide, then either party has the option of requesting a postponement so that you can get the benefit of having a full board. That has been explained to you. I understand you both are jointly seeking a postponement for that reason.
Yes, we would request a postponement so that we can have a full board for the hearing.
Okay. Any questions or objections from the board? Okay, that postponement is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
Okay. Let me address very briefly the issue of opposition to a case. I think on the docket, I'm aware of at least 2 cases in which there is opposition. We find that affording the parties an opportunity to speak at least one more time before arguing the case here may lead to some fruitful discussions, and you might have a happy compromise. But let me just ask, is there any party that has signed in for opposition for 2019-274, 3006 Hamilton Avenue?
Mr. Chair, you got it, Derek?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I believe they are out in the hall right now.
Okay.
No, Mr. Dorsey had to run to the mayor's office. So he said he did sign in opposition to the case, but he had to
Okay.
run out.
All right. Okay, well, they understand that sort of desire to have some discussion, so that I think they're engaging in that. What about case number 2019-365, 3601 West Forest Park Avenue? Alan McCrae. Is there anyone signed in for opposition on that case? Okay. Have you folks had an opportunity to speak regarding the issues? No. Would you like that opportunity?
No, we don't have
Okay, well, it's up to you. We can't force you to talk. Very well. Are there any other matters for which opposition has been signed in, sir?
There is, Mr. Chairman. We have a case 2019-375, 1441 Marshall Street.
Okay. Jesse Spund, you here? Okay.
Yeah, Representative.
Okay, is there anyone who signed in for that opposition on that matter, 1441 Marshall Street?
The folks right behind you.
Have you folks had an opportunity to speak? Have not. Okay, would you like that opportunity? Yes. Okay, feel free to step out and, your matter is well down on the docket, so you certainly have some time.
And then finally, we have someone who signed in for case 2019-342, Mr. Fox. They didn't indicate for or against.
No, I'm the owner of the property.
Okay.
1900 Druid Hill Avenue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there is...
Mr. Fox? Oh, that's, okay.
Okay. All right, well, it's on consent anyway. That's still on consent?
Yes.
Okay,
and
very
that's
good.
it.
All right. Okay, when I do call a case, the applicant should stand to my left and the opposition to my right. I don't even know if we have any more opposition in here. We do have some folks. The applicant will speak. This is the cases for opposition. The applicant will speak, then the opposition will have an opportunity to respond, and then the applicant will have the final word for rebuttal. That will be it. There won't be any additional going back and forth. That's how that will proceed. Now, we're going to call the cases for which the board has concluded that we have sufficient information to grant your requests. When I call the case number, please line up to my left along the way further down, and we'll have you all sworn, and then we will hear each of your matters. The first case on the consent docket, case number 2019-255, 732 through 734 West Lexington Street. Ryan Potter? Okay. Next case, 2019-361, 1225 Washington Boulevard. Mr. Roger Velasquez? 1225 Washington Boulevard. All right. Next case on the consent docket, 2019-367, 5625 Groveland Avenue, Benjamin Peterson. Then we have case number 2019-342, 1900 Druid Hill Avenue, Mr. Mike Fox. We also have case 2019-358, 1125 Sargent Street, Nathan Robbins. Case number 2019-362, 348 Rosebank Avenue, Mike DeBlasi. Case number 2019-369, 835 West Lexington Street. Let me get this. Wee Wee Zhang?
Yeah.
Line up. 2019-370, 1426 Patapsco Street. Matt Knopfel? Okay, did I get that right this time, sir?
Sir.
All right, thank you. Let's see, finally, on the consent docket, we have case number 2019-377, 818 South Glover Street. Dave Schilling? Okay. Swear the parties?
Raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. So first call on the case of 2019-255, 732 through 734 West Lexington Street. Mr. Potter?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ryan Potter on behalf of the Archbishop of Baltimore.
All right, welcome, sir. This is a request to consolidate 732 through 734 West Lexington Street and 763 Dr. Benjamin Quarles Place and construct a three-story elementary middle school with 34 parking spaces. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Do we have any staff reports?
Yes, thank you. Martin French for the Baltimore City Planning Department. The Department of Planning has been working with the applicant for quite a while on the development of this property. The Department of Planning recommends approval of this application, subject to the condition that all construction, other improvements, and landscaping are completed in accordance with the site development and landscaping plans approved by the Department of Planning. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Potter, is there anything you'd like to add to your application?
Not at this time, sir.
Very well. Well, the board, having heard your appeal, I believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Case number 2019-361, 1225 Washington Boulevard.
I do have to recuse for this one.
Okay, he's going to have to be sworn, I think. Come on up, sir. Mr. Velasquez?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Blasquez, this is a request to alter the interior of a building for use as 5 dwelling units. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do we have any staff reports?
Planning Department has reviewed this application, noted that this property is contained in the Washington Village Urban Renewal Plan area. That particular plan does have design and rehabilitation standards, which would apply to any changes to the facade or other exterior parts of the structure. The Department of Planning recommends that approval of this application be subject to the condition that all exterior changes to the property or premises, such as additions, demolition, or alterations, are completed in accordance with plans approved by the Department of Planning. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Blasquez, to the extent we, the board, look favorably upon your appeal, are those conditions acceptable to you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add to your application?
No, that'd be it. Thank you.
All right. Well, the board, having heard your appeal, believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry. First time. That's it? Done?
That's it. Fair to ask. Case number 2019-367, 5625 Groveland Avenue. Mr. Benjamin Peterson?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Peterson. This is
afternoon.
a request to construct a detached to construct a detached prefabricated shed in the rear yard. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Do we have any staff reports?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Mr. Peterson, is there anything you'd like to add to your application?
Not really, because I've been there for 45 years now.
Very well. Well, I can happily tell you that the board, having heard your appeal, believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Fantastic.
All done. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, good afternoon.
Have a great day. Case number 2019-342, 1900 Druid Hill Avenue. Mr. Mike Fox. Good afternoon, Mr. Fox. This is a request to use as 2 dwelling units. Is that correct?
Sir.
All right. Do we have any staff reports?
Yes. Planning Department has reviewed this application and recommends approval. Thank you.
Very well. Mr. Fox, is there anything else you'd like to add to your application? Okay. Well, the board, having heard your appeal, I believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you
you,
very
sir. Have a good day. Case number 2019-358, 1125 Sergeant Street. Mr. Nathan Robbins?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Robbins. This is a request to construct a 2-story rear addition.
Mhm.
All right. Do we have any staff reports?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Mr. Robbins, is there anything else you'd like to add to your application?
No, thank you.
All right, very well. Well, the board, having heard your appeal, I believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Case number 2019-362, 348 Rosebank Avenue. Mr. Mike DeBlasi? Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. This is a request to construct a 2-story rear addition?
Correct.
All right. Do we have any staff reports for this case?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
All right. Mr. DeBlasi, is there anything else you'd like to add to your application? All right. The board, having heard your appeal, believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Case number 2019, says an extra 0, 2019-369, 835 West Lexington Street. Wee Wee Zhang?
Yes.
This is a request to use as 3 dwelling units. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any staff reports?
Planning Department has reviewed this application and has no objection. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Zhang, do you have anything else you'd like to add to your application?
No.
All right, very well. Well, the board, having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Case number 2019-370, 1426 Patapsco Street. Matt Knopfel.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. This is a request to construct a 2-story rear addition and a rooftop deck.
Yes, sir.
All right, do we have any staff reports?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Sir, is there anything else you'd like to add to your application?
No, sir.
All right, well, the board, having heard your appeal, believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Take care. And finally, case number 2019-377, 818 South Glover Street. Dave Schilling?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Schilling. This is a request to construct an addition at the 2nd floor rear and a rooftop deck. Is that correct? Do we have any staff reports?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Mr. Schilling, is there anything else you'd like to add to your application?
No, sir.
All right. The board, having heard your appeal, believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you so much. Okay, yep. Now we will go back to our regular docket. And we'll start with the case of 2019-364, 1523 Pennsylvania Avenue. Mamadou Sal? Come on up, sir.
Yeah. Articulate, nice.
How you doing?
Mr. Sal?
Yes.
Maybe I'm
Okay.
wrong. Can't remember.
We swear the witness?
Raise your right hand, please. You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we have any staff reports for this matter?
Planning Department has reviewed this application and has no objection. Thank you.
Mr. Sal, this is a request to use the premises as a carryout in conjunction with an existing grocery deli, is that
We
correct?
did have
Yes.
Tell us about your project and what it is you'd like to do.
I just want to add an additional kitchen in there so I can sell half food. That's why. So I found out it was in zone for carry out. That's why I'm here
How
today.
late at night are you selling the hot food?
You said what?
How late will you be selling the hot food?
That would depends on the demand. Probably about 10 o'clock.
Okay.
What time do you open?
We open about 8, sometimes 7, sometimes 8.
In the morning?
Yes.
Okay. So the food, the carryout will operate from 8 to 10?
I can't really say what time we open. It might be from 1 to 10, or it might be. It all depends
Okay.
how the
There's
content.
security cameras on the property now?
Yes.
Okay.
Where are those security cameras?
We have one outside and we have several inside.
Okay.
When you come up to get carryout, do you come inside or out, or do you have to
Inside.
come inside?
Yeah, you come
Okay.
inside.
Okay.
I don't have anything else.
Any other questions from the board?
Nope.
Okay. Well, Mr. Sal, thank you for your presentation.
All right, thank you.
All right. we'll do. Calling the case of 2019-274, 3006 Hamilton Avenue. Mr. Anthony Taylor?
Are you free the 17th? For dinner, if we do that. December.
Excuse me.
And do we have any opposition for this matter? No? Yes. Okay, come on up.
No.
So if you guys can switch sides.
Yeah. This is a request to use the first floor premises as a community center, is that correct?
Yes.
We have the party sworn?
Raise your right hands, please. You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Do we have any staff reports?
Yes, we have a letter of opposition in the file from the Glenham Belhar Community Association. They write, "We ask that you deny the appeal for a community center under the Hamilton Urban Renewal Plan. Street-facing ground floor uses must be primary retail or service establishments that deal directly with consumers, rely heavily on walk-in business, and have regular daily hours. Thus, this URP does not allow such a usage in this specific location. We appreciate that the prospective owners postponed the initial appeal hearing at our request to provide time to meet with our board and our members to answer questions, especially as anyone considering operating a community center should naturally engage with the community in which it's located. The original appeal application was for a video gaming lounge. After speaking with the prospective owners, we believe that they have some more work to do on their business plan to create and sustain a functional community center. As the community center where the center would be located, we do not believe a conditional usage should be granted when there are still so many unknowns. We have some community members expressing concerns that there are no specific plans for programs beyond, quote, helping kids up to age 12 after school, unquote, at the prospective center, and that they ask for community volunteers to work at the center with the kids rather than having an established staff. This is signed by Ann Yastrzymski, the president of the association.
And just quickly, since the individual standing in front of me, what is your name, sir?
I'm Ryan Dorsey, I'm the city council representative there.
Got it. I did know that. Okay. Okay.
Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that it contained a floor plan for the structure, or the use of this portion of the structure, but did not indicate what activities would occur within the over 1,200 square feet shown as open office space. The department therefore obviously recommends that the applicant inform the board of the details of the proposed community center, including days and hours for each community, cultural, social, and recreational activity that would occur at the site. This property is also in the Hamilton Business Area Urban Renewal Plan area. This particular urban renewal plan does have a statement in it: street-facing ground floor uses must be primarily retail or service establishments that deal directly with consumers, rely heavily on walk-in business, and have regular daily hours. The department therefore recommends that approval of the application, if granted, be subject to the condition that the proposed community center be established, maintained, and operated consistent with provisions of the Hamilton Business Area Urban Renewal Plan. Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, having heard from planning and its conditions, to the extent the board would be favorable to your application, are those conditions acceptable to you?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Who am I speaking to?
This is my colleague, Mr. Harris.
Yeah.
All right. You're Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, who's going to speak for you?
Mr. Harris is
I'll
going to
speak.
speak.
And your first name?
My name is Harry Chappelle.
Mr. Chappelle.
Yes.
Okay. Well, tell us about your project, bearing in mind that, as planning suggested, we'd really like to hear what's going to happen at this community center and
Okay.
what the plans are.
I am president right now of a Poet Nation 501c3 nonprofit organization. And when we found out that they had a space available, we was looking for a space in order to do some community projects out of. So that was one of the reasons why we had asked for that location. We primarily, I have some literature here. We work with kids as well as seniors. So I have letters, newsletters, and we work with schools as far as doctor-teacher program. We do outreach as far as seniors, as far as getting them to the voting polls. We do the food, seniors deliver food to seniors, stuff like that. The reason why we wanted the brick and mortar, because it's a lot easier to get people to volunteer and to set up programs when you have a facility. A lot of people do come out and help us, but we don't get the kind of thing that we should be able to get because we have a P.O. box. So some of the donations, the people don't know us, they were like, well, I didn't know y'all, so that's why I didn't send my money to a P.O. box. So we have a 5-year, in our 5-year plan, we have that we was looking for a facility, and it just so happened that I know the gentleman that owns the building, and he said that the downstairs was available. So I went back to my committee, and we agreed that we would try to rent this facility for him. And like we say, we work with kids on up. You know what I mean? So we do seniors. I also went to the different association meetings and explained the different programs that we do have. And I also asked them as far as being volunteers, if they wanted the volunteers, and we will staff the facility. We will require background checks and everything for staff that's working there. We also want to have an opportunity for the students at different schools to do community service as well. There. So we got feedback from the community and the community association, and when we was there, we had a good exchange, and they told us what they wanted, what they needed in the area, and we think that we can provide it for them.
What are those programs?
Okay, so we have, like I say, we have programs for the seniors. We have a literacy program that we do.
Could you be more specific?
Oh, okay. We have a food program that we actually it's an outreach program that we go and get food from. It's called Friendship Outreach, and we deliver the food to the seniors. We also do a mentoring program for kids. We do the literacy program. We also do the voter registrations to try to get seniors. We provide transportation for seniors and stuff to go to the voters poll. We do community events as well. So we actually did an event a couple of years ago where we had we tried to get the police officer and children to introduce gaming, to get them to game together so they can build a relationship in the community. So we go around to different precincts and do that as well. And we have other programs that we want to implement, but we don't have a facility to do it. So that's part of our problem.
A couple of questions from me.
Uh-huh.
Where are you operating now?
Right now, we was, if you're familiar with we used to meet at the Elks Club on Harford Road, but the roof had collapsed upstairs where we were meeting at. So now we're actually meeting, and I own a business, All Points Graphics on Harford Road, 7122. So we've been meeting in my little office. You know what I mean? So we don't have.
What funding do you have to pay the rent and operate?
What kind of funding? Oh, we raise money. We have fundraisers as well as we have donations, and we seek grants.
How many staff members are you going to have that are full time?
How many staff members? We was trying to get anywhere from maybe 2 to 3 staff members to be there.
And what will the hours be?
We haven't really determined. We would say probably around my normal business hours. Like we told the association that we would be there no later than probably 7 or 8 o'clock at the latest if something is going on. But we would be there normal like 9 to something.
Can you speak to the letter that indicates that the 501c3 is not in good standing?
We are. I wish he would have told me, because I'd have brought the good standing letter. We just got it.
Okay.
We are in good standing. I don't know where they got that from.
Well, SDOT, State Department of Assessments and Taxation, keeps track of that. My assumption is they probably ran the company, and SDOT did a business search, and it came up as not in being good standing. No. I don't know if they ran. Did you run all Poet Nations?
Poet Nation.
Poet Nation. We're in good standing. If I'd have known that, I'd have brought the letter.
Okay.
We have our letter. We just got our letter this year. We've been in good standing for the last 3 years.
When did you begin?
We began 4 years ago.
Okay.
How many people will physically be in the building each day?
On our, I'm only dealing with the bottom level, where the community center would be. Yeah, so we would say anywhere from maybe 2 to 4 or 5 people, something like that, because of staff. Like I said, 2 to 3 staff members, and then of course, if we have functions and stuff, it would be more the committee. More people on the committee would be there as well.
How do you actually deliver these meals?
Well, what we do is we have transportation that we actually take it to. We have a senior citizen building on Bel Air Road. It's called Evergreen on Bel Air Road. It used to be Catholic Charity Senior Citizen Building, and we also deliver some that's over on the west side.
And you'll have 2 people delivering all these meals?
No. We have our committee right now delivers the meal, and any volunteers that wanna help us deliver it. So
I mean, your intent is to fully use this building to provide these services, right? For example, if you mentor at you're gonna have certain hours where you're gonna have mentoring. I imagine you're gonna have, or intending to have, volunteers that come in for that mentoring. So you'd like to fill it up with kids, right?
Yes. So we would like to, like I say, anybody that, even with our literacy program that we did in-school literacy program, we actually did background check on those people that's working, because of, school requires that. So anybody that comes that wants to volunteer and stuff by them dealing with kids, you would have to go through a background check for safety reasons We just don't want anybody coming in there. Now, we did have a request for some of the high school kids to come in there, if we get it open, to get community service. So we would like to provide that opportunity for them to not only get community service there, but as we go out and do other programs, that they can participate in the different events and programs that we do to accumulate community service hours as well.
How many programs would operate at the same time?
We usually, the adopted teacher program is usually operated out of the school. So what we do is we take this packet to the school and give it to the school, and they give it to each of the teachers. They provide a list and stuff, and then they give it back to us, and we fulfill the list. So that's one program, and then the mentoring program and the literacy program we've been doing inside of the school because we haven't had any facility to do it in.
So you're looking to move the mentoring program and the literacy program from inside of schools into your location, right?
No, we still would do both.
You would do both, okay.
Because everybody can't get there, and our idea is like the kids in the area that needs help. We would like to put a couple computers and everything in there that we can have people there to help them after school and stuff with any kind of help that they need. But we would still provide services to the school as well, because everybody can't get to that location. We're not trying to.
Which schools are you presently working on?
We actually went to. We went to City Neighbors. Dunbar High School is another school we went to, and then Elmont Elementary, I think it is, because one of my other board members take care of the literacy program, but I think it's Elmont Elementary. I think that's what it is.
Have you signed a lease for the property?
No, not yet, because we was going through the process. They asked us to postpone the last hearing to go to all the association meetings and explain what we wanted to do and talk to the association. So we haven't done anything, concretely.
Okay. Any further questions from the board?
Is this a 7-day-a-week? Would this be 7 days per week or just Monday through Friday?
Well, it would be Monday through Friday in case we have like a Saturday event or something like that. Then
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for your. I'm sorry. Thank you for your initial presentation, Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you. I came today to just be sure to represent the voice of the community folks, and I guess a bit of my insight. I've never met the applicants before, never heard from them, no communications from them. So to the point that, I could have given you this letter in advance, I couldn't have because I didn't know who you were. I've never heard from them. I've never heard anybody in the surrounding community ask for anything like this. And this is a neighborhood where over the last 3 years, I probably attended, 5 different sessions that were just people in the immediate surrounding community looking for what kind of businesses they want to attract to the Main Street, and in particular to the Hamilton urban renewal area here in which this lies. And this is not a use that I've ever heard presented as a desire for the community. And I've, in my years in the community now, and I never heard kids looking for a place to go in order to figure out how to commit themselves to community service hours. I've also never heard from city neighbors looking for their, to say, hey, we're really excited about a partnership with this business. That, until recently, just wanted to open a video gaming lounge in this location. These are, I think these are concerns for me that I think there's kind of an ill-defined kind of mission for this space that has been sitting vacant for a while, which is not, is also not a wonderful presence in the community. But I mean, the history there is that the property owner has been very difficult to deal with the community and the Main Street business organization there, Hamilton Laurelville Main Streets, and has basically been trying to put anything in there that he can from afar. You know, he himself also having no presence in the community except for his ownership of these properties that he has tried to do things with in the past that were unpermitted or unpermittable. But, you know, I think that the community letter asks above all else for this plan to be more formed and more informed by community engagement. I've never heard of this group having any involvement or engagement in community here in my district anywhere whatsoever until they sought to put a gaming lounge in this location and were called out by the community for trying to do something.
I think the gaming lounge is a different group. It's not Poets Nation.
Right.
So
That's not us.
So I don't know.
That's not us.
So my question to you is, I mean, obviously, I think we can all agree that a community center in Baltimore is a good thing. I understand that you're saying that your
Yeah.
constituents don't want it. What would make you feel comfortable if you saw a business plan? I mean, we tried to speak with the applicants and ask for specifics, and it sounds like they do have a pretty good idea of the services that they're going to provide as far as mentorship, providing food for seniors, et cetera. And I don't think any of us can say that that's a bad
I can't
thing.
say there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, and I understand that you're saying your constituents don't, you've never heard from a constituent that wants it. And the only other thing I'm thinking is the reason why you haven't heard of them before is because they haven't had
An actual
an
location.
actual location to operate out of.
It's all reasonable.
Well, what do you think? would
I'd
make
prefer
you
to have a 5 or 10 minute conversation, not standing here.
Okay.
Mr. Dorsey, were you here when I asked the parties if they wanted to speak?
No, he was out. Do you want to go speak with him?
Yeah, I would appreciate that. Yeah, I'm sorry I had to run over to the mayor's office. I'm sorry.
We can go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we can move on. Or
Stay that case
well, we
temporarily?
keep this case, keep that case open? All right.
You have this, I hear you.
Okay, while,
For your postponement, is that for 375?
I'm sorry,
Wait for that.
So, Mr. Chairman, it looks like 2019-375 is going to be requesting a postponement.
okay.
It's at the chair's
Why
discretion.
don't we take
to-
it up?
Hold up. So there's a request for a postponement, and then we can call the case, and then we can hear if there's going to be a postponement.
Okay, well, why don't we do that now, so we can get it out of the way. This is case number 2019-375, 1441 Marshall Street. Jesse Spund.
Sure.
Yeah, everybody come up who's associated with this matter. Mr. Spund?
I'm Steve Spun, Jesse's dad.
Okay, Mr. Spund.
How do you do?
This is a request to construct a second, third, and fourth floor additions and a new fourth floor front terrace and new decks at the second and third floor rear. The applicant is it the applicant who's requesting a postponement of this matter?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Can you tell us why?
I'm Dan Probilski. I'm the proposed contractor.
Okay.
Speaking with some opposition where we would like to redesign and maybe have them included in some of the design work before going to a hearing.
Okay. And the opposition, how do you feel?
So I just want to make sure we understand the implications of postponing.
What was your name, sir?
Oh, Aaron Bard.
Okay, Mr. Bard.
So we saw the sign on the building. We looked at the proposal. The drawings were for something taller and farther back than is normal and affected all of us. So in short, we decided to come here.
Sure.
So does this make sense? Is this the right process? And will we be involved then?
Well, what this does is to stop this hearing from going forward and from a decision being rendered on their application.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to have the opportunity to discuss some matters, maybe have a meeting of the minds about certain changes that you would like to see, then this is the time time to get the
But
postponed.
that application will then still exist?
Yes, it will.
So then I don't understand then, I mean, that application is for specific things.
Sure. So that application requests certain variances from the bulk regulations for this district. So if the applicant or if the board postpones the case, we would simply hold it, and then they would have to come back to us to then put it back on the docket for a future hearing. The property would have to be reposted for it would have the change of date, and if you have signed in, we would notify anyone on the sign-in sheet about when that case is coming back to the board.
Okay. Okay, very good. I mean, we don't want to do this every 2 weeks. Obviously, we're all taking off of work, et cetera. But as long as we're involved, I guess it will work. Okay, then we're good.
Any objection to the postponement request?
No.
All right. So granted.
Thank you.
All right, good luck. That was, what was it, 2019-375. Postponed. Okay, going to call the case of 2019-297, 3502 Buena Vista Avenue, Sherwin Brown. Come on up, Mr. Brown.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brown. This is a request to use as 2 dwelling units, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Can we swear the witness?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any staff reports?
We do have one letter or one email from a member in the community that had expressed some opposition to the density requested here. I don't have that with me, but that will be included in the file.
Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that this property is zoned R6, and in the R6 zoning district, conversion of a single-family dwelling to a multifamily dwelling is not authorized by the zoning code. The record available to the Planning Department indicates that this property was last lawfully used as a single-family dwelling. Therefore, it's the conclusion of the department that the board would not be authorized to approve the conversion from single-family to multifamily dwelling. The department therefore recommends disapproval of the application because the zoning code does not authorize conversion of a single-family dwelling to a multifamily dwelling in the R6 zoning district where the property is located. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Mr. Brown, so having heard from planning, is there any evidence that you can provide to us of the prior lawful use of this property as a multifamily dwelling?
I don't, and that's the part that I was kind of confused about, why I asked for the extension. I didn't understand how, because I thought that was the role of the board to kind of grant the changes in zoning, so that's...
Well, it is, unless the particular zoning code that applies to that location where you are prohibits a certain use in that district. And as Mr. French just delineated, in that this is an R6 district, which does not allow the conversion of single-family homes to multifamily unless it had previously been used as such. And so what we would need to hear from you in order to be authorized to, frankly, even consider your request, is some evidence that there was a prior lawful use of 3502 Buena Vista Avenue as a multifamily dwelling. My understanding is from the records here, we have not seen any such records of the use of that property as a multifamily dwelling. And in the absence of that, the board would be without authority to grant the request to use it as 2 dwelling units. So we're back to the question of, is there anything you have that you can provide to us to demonstrate the prior use, prior lawful use? Because certainly people can do anything they want, but it has to be, a legitimately and lawful use of that property as a multifamily dwelling.
Right. Yeah, I don't honestly know the history of it. It's our first time actually applying for this type of thing. So, yeah, we would have to look into some kind of the records, the zoning records, I guess, but.
And trust us that we have the zoning records.
Okay, so.
Broken up into 2 units now?
No, it's not broken up into 2 units now. It is actually set up as 1 unit, but it is just almost perfectly laid out for 2 units, almost to the point of just like why. I think they may have been using it in such a capacity in the past. I know there was some issues. You know, the previous owner was not such a good, responsible one, but.
Are there separate meters in the property?
No, there's not,
Okay,
actually.
so there's one
Yeah.
meter. Okay.
So for the board's benefit and for the benefit of the applicant, if you were about 500 yards north, you'd be in an R7 zoning district, which would allow conversion by city council. So it just so happens that the property is in an R6 district that wouldn't authorize the conversion to multiple dwelling units.
Okay.
So it's all about where your property just happens to be located.
Understood. Is there any other routes? I mean, I guess there is no other routes for.
The only other option would be to actually rezone the property itself, which is a city council process. And that you're certainly, you know, as a constituent, you would be welcome to approach your city council person to see if they would be interested in that. Given the location, the chances of that are not particularly high, but that certainly would be available to you.
Okay, so the city council.
That's correct. Yep. The city council is the only entity that's authorized to actually rezone a property.
To rezone a property. All right, that was what I was missing.
Anything you'd like to add?
Well, I will just share, just for everyone, that we did actually go out and meet a lot of members of our community. I know it doesn't really particularly change too much, but we went around and we met our neighbors, and it was a really great thing. We actually were able to get 10 letters of support saying that the idea is a good idea, and they didn't have any issues with it. And beyond just the idea, I think just the idea of meeting your neighbors was probably the best thing we've done in a while. So.
Awesome to hear. Well, wish you luck, and
it is what it is.
we're constrained by what the code allows us to do.
I understand.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your presentation.
When this one comes up, we need to let
Right back at. Okay, calling the case of 2019-263, 108 through 110 South Broadway. Soup-
it's gonna change.
I'm sorry?
363.
That's what it says. 63? Yeah. Sorry.
Get the address right, that's what's important.
Well, let me do it for the record. 2019, this paper says 263, but it's 2019-363. 108 through 110 South Broadway. Sukhbir Singh, request to erect a 4-foot projecting 114 square feet changeable copy sign on the front wall. Is that correct?
It is. Abraham Hurd on behalf of Mr. Singh, 108 South Broadway.
Okay. We swear the witness.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. Do you have any staff reports?
Yes, Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that this property is contained within the Washington Hill Historic District, in which any exterior alterations, additions, and so on must be approved by the Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation. The applicant has worked with the staff in the Planning Department, the Historic Preservation planners, and has devised a sign which the Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation considers approvable. The department therefore recommends that approval of this application be subject to the condition that the sign is completed and maintained in accordance with the authorization to proceed dated July 17th of 2019, which was issued by the Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation. Thank you.
Okay. Having heard from planning, should the board be favorably disposed towards your application, are those conditions acceptable to you?
Absolutely.
Tell us about your project.
This is an interesting location. This is the former Apex Theater. It previously had a sign more or less identical to the one we're putting up on the front. At some point in the last few years, it was removed during a renovation without authorization, and the city has actually been, let's say after Mr. Singh, but we've had some district court cases in an attempt to get the sign put back or to have it restored. We've been working on that process for is it about a year at least in court. And we've been working with a contractor who's been helping out significantly, and people in planning have been helping a lot as well. The issue is that ultimately, despite having planning and I think historical approval, we still need a zoning hearing because of the district that we're in to get this sign built more or less the way that it used to be. I think you have some drawings, I'm not certain, that show kind of the way it currently sits with its kind of a rough-looking awning.
What's in the space now?
It's a convenience store.
So will the sign be for the convenience store?
I believe that it will be for the convenience store, yes. I'm not sure they're gonna be changing it every week
Got
to
it.
reflect discounts or anything, but the issue was that the Apex Theater used to have, I guess, that movie sign. Now it has kind of a rough-looking awning in the front.
Interesting that the city got involved.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't have any questions.
No, good.
all right. Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
We would request approval at this time.
Very well, all right. Well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. May we be excused?
I'm sorry?
Are we excused?
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice day.
On the case of 2019-365, 3601 West Forest Park Avenue, Alan McRae. In any opposition, come on up and stand to my right. Good afternoon.
365. Oh, this is the fence.
Okay, Mr. McRae?
Yes.
Okay, this is a request to construct a 5 foot 6 inch, or 5 feet or 6 feet, I'm not sure.
Yes.
5 to 6 foot?
Yes.
Okay, 5 to 6 foot high fence in front and corner side yards. There is an existing 6 foot high fence in the rear and interior yards. Is that correct?
On the side, yes, on one side.
All right, so can we have all the parties sworn?
Raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we have any staff reports?
We do. First, there's a letter of opposition from the Forest Park Neighborhood Association, which is signed by Ms. Sharon Bradford, who is here. And so in lieu of reading the letter, she'll testify herself. There's also a letter from the Forest Park Alliance that is in opposition. That's signed by Mr. Lawrence Campbell, who says, I'm writing to speak in opposition of the 6 foot fence on the property located at 3601 West Forest Park Avenue. The owner wishes to install a 6 foot fence to stop his dog from escaping the yard again and biting someone. My opposition to the request is that the property is a corner lot and a 6 foot wooden fence would obstruct the view of persons coming east on Forest Park from seeing traffic traveling north on Grantley Road. If the fence is chain link fence, persons would be able to see through and adjust their vehicles accordingly. A wooden fence is unacceptable. There is a letter from the Councilwoman Sharon Green Middleton that reads, as Councilwoman representing the 6th District of Baltimore City, please accept this letter of opposition to the BMZA request referenced above. I am in full agreement with content of the attached letter submitted by the Forest Park Alliance. The erection of a wood fence could potentially pose a danger to pedestrians and vehicular traffic. And then finally, there is what do you call these things? Petition with about 25 names on it that we assume has been circulated throughout the community.
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. McRae, floor is yours. Tell us about your request.
I was never putting up a wooden fence. I have a chain link fence. All I wanted to do was raise it up, stop my dog from biting somebody. People come past, kids or whatever come past, and they agitate my dog. Now, my dog recently just bit somebody about almost 2 months ago because the lady leaned over into my yard, and my dog jumped straight up and bit her in the face. All I want to do is stop this from happening. That's why the people down at Barks told me that my dog head should not be, coming over top of the fence. I have a regulation size fence there now, All I want to do is raise it up just like another foot or so, so my dog his head can't get above the fence. That's all I wanted to do. I never was putting up a wooden fence because that's too much money.
And we
Appreciate that.
currently have a chain link fence.
And what's your name?
Lisa McRae.
My wife,
What kind of dog?
it's a pit bull.
Have you had any conversations about it with them?
I don't even know these people.
Okay.
I never seen
Would
them.
you like the opportunity? It
No.
sounds, well, actually,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Uh,
I think that, I don't know why you wouldn't want to have an opportunity to speak to your neighbors and try to work out something where everybody gets along, especially when it sounds like it's to everyone's benefit for your dog to be secure, and you're not planning to build a wooden fence, right?
No.
Okay.
Now, one question. All y'all live in the neighborhood?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
We're not having a
oh, no, I was just asking.
We're on the record here, so there's a transcript being produced,
Oh.
so we only speak one at a time.
Yeah, we need
He'll
names
tell you
before
when
people
you have
speak.
questions.
How would you actually raise the fence?
I would have to redo it. I have some additional pieces that I have left over when I put up the fence the first time. It was 6 foot. The city came out, told me I had to cut it down so that it could permit for it. So I cut it down and made it regulation size. And like I said, since Barks told me that the fence had to be raised, I would have to come to y'all and get approval to get my fence raised again. Like I said, I don't need,
You take this fence down and put a new fence up.
yes, or I could just take the partition pieces that I have and just add like another foot or two.
Never seen that before.
So you're trying to, this black and white picture here, this is like a shorter
Yes,
piece of
that's the
fence
short
here.
front.
So you want to make it this tall
Yes, that's the 6 foot on the side.
all the way around?
It doesn't have to be that tall. I just need about another foot or two.
Okay.
Like I said, between 5 to 6 foot.
And other than the fence is secure enough to keep your dog in it.
Yes, I even cement the bottom part of the ground so my dog can't get under the fence.
Okay.
I did that all the way around. So I'm trying to keep him in as best I can. Because the dog shock collar does not work.
Okay.
So I'm out of options. Only thing I can do now is just raise it just a little bit. That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
I'm trying not to block anybody's view. There's 3 stop signs on a corner, so people have to stop. Half the time, people don't stop at that corner anyway, because it's major accidents there. I have video cameras around my yard, around my house. I see this all the time.
How long have you lived in the neighborhood at that location?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
They had hedges up before I moved in. The house was torn down, then rebuilt back up. They had 6 foot hedges or whatever going all the way around the house or higher. When they did the house, I was glad they cut down the hedges. But now people was walking across my yard, so that's why I put up the fence.
Okay.
The-
All right. All right. So who we hear from with regard, is that your presentation generally?
No, I do have a question. I'm Lisa McRae. What is the difference between having 6 feet or higher hedges around a corner house than having a chain link fence that's the same height?
Well,
What's the difference?
The zoning code provides the regulation size for a fence.
Mhm.
I don't know what the zoning says about hedges or in one's yard. But,
Okay.
so we're subject to the zoning code. And
Okay.
so, as your husband indicated, when he built a higher fence, you need a permit or authorization to get it higher than what the code generally allows.
So now, if we're elected to put higher hedges around around our home,
I have
okay,
no idea what you can do with regard to hedges. I don't know that the zoning code speaks to shrubbery and
Oh, okay.
natural growth.
Okay.
But with regard to fences, it does speak to that.
Okay,
And so
all
that's
right.
why you're here, to get approval for,
Okay, I was just
for that
asking
with regard
what
to
the
fencing.
difference was, sir.
Okay. So does that conclude your initial presentation?
Yes, sir.
All right. We will go to the opposition, and who would like to speak for the opposition? State your name and we'll go forward.
I'm Fred Jackson. I'm from the Forest Park Community Association.
Good afternoon, sir.
Our main opposition to this fence is that it'll be too high for people to see through as they were coming up, chain link or not. Eventually, it's still going to cause a lot of accidents. As Mr. McCray has already stated, there's constantly accidents on that corner. There's going to still be accidents on that corner. With a higher fence, there's a higher probability that there will be more accidents. We have a lot of pedestrian traffic through there, a lot of children going to school through there, and a pit bull in the front yard is just going to make it that much more dangerous. We're not against dogs. We're not against pit bulls. We're against changing the look of the neighborhood with a very high fence. It'll look like an armed camp there. We are trying to make our neighborhood neater and keep it cleaner and keep it straight. This dog is not the first time this dog has bit somebody, and 4 years ago when he started, he wanted the fence there, I believe then, for the dog. This dog's only 18 months old, so I don't understand that. I'm getting vague information from animal control about how many animals were actually carried away from there. I don't know why.
Okay,
I'm
we're
not
here-
going to lie on you. They don't want to tell us.
We're here with regard to this fence, and so let me ask you a question. You've indicated it will cause accidents for a chain link fence. How can someone not
A
see?
6 foot, the city regulation doesn't allow a fence that high to be on a corner property.
I understand.
And that's
why
the
you're
main,
here.
that's one of the main reasons why we're coming in here to speak. If we start allowing people to do that, then all the corners will have 6 foot high fence and will look more like a prison compound.
So you're concerned more, not with regard to the.
We are
safety
more
of the-
concerned with
Let me-
the
let me
safety of
finish.
the neighborhood.
Only one of us at a time. The safety of the neighborhood, but with regard to traffic issues and not being able to see around the fence, is it your contention that you can't see around a chain link 6 foot fence?
I'm not saying you can't see around its chain link fence. It's distracting just like anything else. To have the fence that high, the regulation stands for a reason.
I understand the regulations. I'm asking what
It's
your
not
purpose
just for it's not just for traffic. It's for also for pedestrians. The people that fly through there, because there are no traffic calming devices on those roads, except on Forest Park further up. On that road that he's talking about, there's no traffic calming device down there to make people slow down. And with that fence there, it would look like anything coming through there if somebody's walking.
Mr. Jackson, were you there when there were hedges around this property? Did you live in the neighborhood when the tall
I lived in the
hedges were-
neighborhood there, but I didn't hang out up there, no.
Did you see the hedges around the property when you were
Like I
there?
said, I didn't hang out up there. It was not something that was part of my
Sir.
purpose. I remember the house got torn down at one point. It's been vacant for a long time. It's something you see and then you don't see.
Traffic more than a chain link fence. Sure they do. Yeah. Okay. I don't think I need to hear anything else.
Anything else, sir?
Not from me.
All right, anyone else? State your name and
Just as a reminder, we don't need to hear, if you're just gonna repeat what he said, then we've already heard those points. If you have something new to say, we'd love to hear it.
I think it's a little different.
Okay.
It won't be exactly what he said, but I think it's a little different. And my name is George Privet. I'm a member of the Forest Park Neighborhood Association. And good afternoon, Board.
good afternoon.
I think it's for the greater good of the neighborhood. A 6 foot fence, chain link, wood, vinyl, even if it's a glass 6 foot fence, I feel would take away from the ambience of the neighborhood. No one else in our neighborhood has a 6 foot fence in the front. And we're talking about in the front of the house. The back, there's no discussion about that. No problem with the back of the house. But we're talking about the front of the house. That's what we are opposed to. And we feel there's ample room in the back. It's our understanding that the dog has attacked people several times, so that's an issue there. Okay?
Well, that's not an issue for us.
Okay, well, I think that's, okay, we'll move on. We're trying to get started to having a historic designation for our area, for our neighborhood, and a 6 foot fence does not fit in. It's just, it would be a total exception to everybody else's yard in the neighborhood to have a 6 foot fence. in the front. And that's my discussion on this matter.
And sir, did you live in this area when there were tall hedges around this house?
I've been in the area for about 12 years.
Okay, and so the hedges definitely prevented drivers and walkers from seeing traffic coming down the various blocks, right?
I would think so. Every time I would pass by the house, it's only been recently fixed up, I guess, in 3 or 4 years, but it was for the most part a dilapidated looking property. So there were hedges, but they weren't kept.
But you would agree that you can see through a chain link fence and not through hedges, correct?
My contention is not about seeing through a fence. My contention is about the ambiance, the view, looking down the neighborhood and seeing all the other yards clear, but then you have this obstruction of view where you have a 6-foot fence. Okay. That is it's not about, with me, it's not about seeing through. It's about the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Before you leave.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the character of the neighborhood now that there's a chain link fence there, but it's only 3.5 feet?
I don't have a problem with what the code is at 3.5 feet. It is, the fence will be taller than me. I'm 5'8", all right? So the fence will be tall as this man here, all right? So that's what I have a problem with.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon. My name is Ahmad Onyango, and I'm a member of the Hanlon Park Community Association.
I'm gonna need you to spell
AHMADONYANGO. Yes. I only have one objection to this gentleman's request, and that is if it's okayed by this commission, it would set a precedent. And we know that once one person changes and gets a precedent-setting decision, then other people are wide open to get precedents. And I wouldn't think it would happen, but what would stop the next person in the neighborhood from putting up a 6-foot brick fence around a yard, you know? So the precedent setting issue is my issue. The rest of it doesn't matter to me at all.
All right, thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Sharon Bradford, and I'm with the Forest Park Neighborhood Association. I just want to point out several things with having this 6-foot fence. Either way, whether it be wooden or see-through, I still say that it would present a problem to seeing through that fence when we get down to that stop sign. Like Mr. McRae said, there has been numerous accidents there. I recently, about 2-3 months ago, had a stop sign put in because I too was in an accident at that corner. So it is hard to see around. And so I took a picture. He has numerous vehicles that prevent you when you drive down to that stop sign of actually seeing around it. You know, by the time I get out there, I'm almost out in the midsection of the street and can't see. So I want to put it, he has more than one vehicle, and they all park along that fence that you say you can see through. You wouldn't be able to see through it anymore with parked vehicles there. So I would ask you to take that into consideration when you make your decision.
So the issue for the difficulty in seeing is the vehicles as opposed to the fence, right?
Well, yeah, you can't see through it. If someone's there, like I said, I've been in an accident myself.
Well, I'm following up on your point. You were making a point that there are vehicles that are parked along the street and you can't see around the vehicle. It makes it difficult to see, correct? Mm-hmm. Well, that's got nothing to do with a fence, does it? It's the vehicles, and he's allowed to park the vehicles there.
He's allowed to park the vehicles there, yeah. No, I'm here to say that it's difficult already, and putting a fence there will make it even more difficult. I also want to say that in reference to the reason for him building the fence, that he stated in his application for because his dog jumped up and bit someone. Well, there was a hearing, and the dog is no longer in his possession until the hearing decision, and that was held on October the 23rd, and it takes 30 days to get that decision. And so he doesn't know whether he's going to keep the dog or not, or whether it's going to be euthanized or not.
I mean, just understand, the dog has nothing to do with.
I understand that part of it, but that's the reason that he has it in his application.
But
Okay.
I don't want to hear any more about the dog. personally.
I also want to point out that when I pulled up the reports for 311 on him, on that property at 3601 West Forest Park Avenue, that I'm going to make a recommendation to my community that we look at it as a nuisance property because he has over close to 100 complaints.
Ms. Bradford, I'm sorry, but this is irrelevant testimony.
Okay.
So we have to
All
pertain
right,
to the
I get
fence.
it, I get it. All right, but we just want to say we oppose it. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. for your
Thank you.
testimony.
And for the benefit of the board, the fence height requirements here deal with front and corner side yards. A rear yard can be enclosed with a 6-foot fence. So there's certainly a way in which something could be erected in the rear yard of this property that might deal with the property owner's concerns, but that would not require any variances before this board.
Okay.
So I will just leave that for the board's
Okay.
Consideration.
Thank you.
Mr. Bumgarner. Mr. McCray, you have the final word, sir.
Yes, I don't have a rear yard. It's a house in the back of me. I just have the side and my front, and on this side.
Oh,
I
so is
don't
it like a
ha-
duplex? Like it's split?
No, it's not split. It's enough, I don't have an alley.
Got
So
it.
I have to sit out my trash through the front. So
Is something considered a side yard? Is this the side yard right here?
where the tall fence is at now, it used to be some other pits over there.
Got it.
So you're trying to build a 6-foot here and here?
Yes, 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 ma'am.
So along Forest Park Avenue and
Yes,
up
partly on Grant.
Grantley? Okay.
Not going all the way down, just part of it.
Part down.
Yes. Because I have no backyard, I have a garage back there, and then right beside that is a house that they renting out or whatever they doing, it's a multi-unit house.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Any further questions from the board?
No.
All right. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. McCray. Thank you. We will deliberate at the end of,
You're welcome to stay, or you can check on the line tomorrow.
I don't have a number.
oh, let me give it back to you.
You wanna stay? Oh,
I can give you the number again if you like it.
yeah, sure. I don't have a pen.
Here you go. The number is 410-396-4301. After 9 a.m., you can call and find out.
But I'll wait, thank you.
Calling the case of 2019-366. 30.
Looks like they're back.
Oh, they're back. Why don't we recall, what was that? The case of 2019-274, 3006 Hamilton Avenue. Good afternoon.
Can I ask a question first?
Sure.
Are you the owner of the property?
No.
You're not?
No.
Thank you for asking.
What is your relationship, since you're here?
Company representative.
Company representative.
They would be, the company upstairs, we would be renting the space from.
Okay, you'd be leasing the space to
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
floor.
so, yeah.
Howard Fine, the owner of the building is Howard Fine.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Anthony's business leases from him, and you'd be a subtenant, sublease.
Okay. Well, you folks have had an opportunity to speak.
Yes.
Any particular compromise or resolution? What can we hear?
So from my perspective, these are fine gentlemen. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to speak. Just in reflection on our conversation, I still share the community's concern that the use does not conform with the urban renewal plan. Just a cursory search, because the city's zoning code doesn't give any examples of what exactly establishes a retail and service establishment. Far as I can find, in terms of examples of what that means, although that is how the urban renewal plan refers to the needs of places within it. A cursory search, turns up the kind of things that one might imagine: a grocery store, a barber shop, a hardware store, car parts store, all kinds of things that, essentially, and you can look at other legislative text from other jurisdictions and research university publications. It talks about serving the general needs of everyday life of the people who live in the surrounding community. I don't think that this really fits that bill, but I do believe that if it were an establishment, if it were going to be able to essentially cobble together a use for the different kind of programming that it could use, I think it could serve the other part of the definition, or what the urban renewal plan refers to as primarily being for walk-in kind of service. I'm not entirely convinced, but it's a vacant building right now. It's a vacant use. I would be remiss to. I would be concerned that it wouldn't materialize into something that really fulfilled the purpose and the requirements of the urban renewal plan. That's my only remaining concern. And I think that the community's request or concern in the letter that a more full-fledged plan for this specific use here might give some comfort that it might meet some of those other expectations of uses within the urban renewal plan.
Okay.
And just a very brief question, either for the councilman or for Mr. French. This urban renewal plan, when was it enacted and or last revisited?
It was last revisited within the last year to make an amendment to it to permit secondhand goods, to strike the prohibition of secondhand goods stores.
And was it this urban renewal plan or another one that had to be revisited because it had the old zoning code language in it?
Neither of the two urban
recall,
renewal
that's-
plans within my district have been rewritten to incorporate the new zoning code language.
Because they, for the most part, predate the current zoning code by probably many, many years.
Yes.
I'd like to hear again what planning had to say about the urban renewal plan.
Well, we didn't take a position on the urban renewal plan. Our comment was that it would be up to the applicant to show that the proposed operation would satisfy the conditions that the councilman is alluding to. Specifically, it says primarily retail or service establishments, and they are proposing a service establishment, one could construe this as, that deal directly with consumers, rely heavily on walk-in business, and have regular daily hours. So it would be important for the applicant to specify basically, the hours of operation and what sort of pedestrian traffic and you can call it clientele, customer patronage, whatever term you'd like to use, there would be during the course of a day, and and obviously what days of the week this would happen.
Well, sir,
Oh, okay.
I think that where there might be some disconnect is this would be the first brick and mortar that your organization has, right?
Well,
You don't have an established
operating out of the Elks, but not of
Right. but
Yeah,
So this would be your first established location.
Right.
Where you would, and so they were operating out of the Elks, but there's been where your the mentoring kids and stuff and literacy program, that was not happening out of the Elks, right? That was in inside
Right,
of
right. We
schools.
were doing it at the school
Okay,
because
so
we
this would,
didn't have.
this would be the first time that you would have this type of foot traffic coming in and out of a location, right? So in reality, there isn't really like, you don't know what your foot traffic is gonna be at this point, correct?
Well, and I wouldn't say we yes and no at the same time, because like I explained to the gentleman, we do work with other nonprofits as well, and also we have went to, I don't know if he's representing one association, but we went to 5 different associations in the area, and we had we got good feedback from them and everything, and they had programs that they wanted to see in that area, so we would get foot traffic, and we told them that we would be open normal business hours. That was one of the conditions that they asked us, could we be open normal? We said, yeah, no problem. How late would you be open? We told them, a little later than 7, 8 o'clock if we doing something or having something, but for the most part it'd be regular normal business. Now, we assuming that the people will come in and use the facility if the facility is available. And like I told the gentleman, we have other people that provide different services, like the outreach program up the street. They provide, as well as a food program, but they also provide a job service and different others. So we would have, situations where maybe we can have the different services in the area come in, and the people can come in and find out about different services. We can have literature there and stuff, because by me being a graphic designer in the area, I deal with a lot of business in the area, but it's a lot of businesses and services that people don't know that's in that area. You know what I mean? So we could be that catalyst in order to, help the community. Hey, did you know that your son can go up the street and try to get a job from these people? Will go out and help us. So it's not just, not just our little association, but we are connected with other nonprofits and businesses. And like I explained to the gentleman, I've worked with different businesses in that area doing signs and flyers and all that stuff. So I have a relationship with businesses in the area, and I've not even talked to them about that what we was thinking about doing, and they was excited about it. We even went to the business association, and they was happy that we can do it, and I explained to them, what the kind of relationship we wanted to build in the area. So I would assume that we would get, foot traffic, daily foot traffic, because people would know. Once they know that you're there and you provide a service, it shouldn't be a problem. And like I said, one of the association meetings we went to, their concern was kids hanging on the church step. Could we provide some kind of service that we can get the kids from hanging on outside in the neighborhood? And I said, yeah, as a community, we can come up with a program if y'all want to, that we can compromise with the businesses and different things like that everybody can get along with. So we open to ideas as well as our own ideas that we're going to bring. So I don't think the foot traffic would be a problem. And that's why we're willing to even pay staff to be there, 2 or 3 people to be there during the day, because we assume that they would come in and out. People would be there.
I thought I heard earlier that your mentoring program takes place in the school.
Yeah, we have.
And your food delivering takes place off-site also.
Yeah, because under the city coordinates and stuff, we couldn't operate a food pantry in that building.
See, but I don't.
So we providing Can I finish?
What I heard was that 2 of the main aspects of the program were the food delivery and the mentoring. Neither of those are going to take place on site, he just said, and I quite frankly don't even understand what they're attempting to do.
Okay, so can I explain? Okay, so by under the city law, you have to have a certain amount of space, and the facility has to be set up a certain way. So we was asked by the outreach program, could we provide transportation and stuff like that to deliver the food that seniors just couldn't get there. That's how we got into this service. Now, one of the things that the outreach program wanted to do is if we get it, to let people know where they're at and what the services are available. So as you come in, we couldn't give you food in that building, but we can get your name, address, and stuff like that, and maybe get food to you or tell you where to go at to get food. So we will provide informational services as well as any services that the community would deem appropriate to put in to the building that will help the seniors as well as kids, like they asked for. You know what I mean? Because when we was out in the hallway, when we was at the last few meetings, this gentleman wasn't at any of the meetings we was at. We went to all the association meetings. So that's why we so thrown off about this letter, because that's not the reaction that we got from, you know what I mean, from the community. So
you have basically a hodgepodge of services that you'd like to offer that some folks have asked for, including offering services to seniors with regard to possibly
youth,
tying them together with food banks
Right,
and
right.
other services for them, mentoring. Now, is it your intent to provide mentoring services there on site?
We would love to if we could do that. Yes, I mean I would love to.
Is there
provide
anything that
it.
prohibits you from doing that if you had this building? and-
Oh no. No. I mean, yeah. I mean, if we could get the kids to come in, and they can come in after school, because one of the things that we also thought
Do you have
about.
a business plan? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but do you have a written business plan?
Yes, we do have a business plan that we have, and like I say, my organization, we have a 5-year business plan, and we also have bylaws and all that stuff as well that we can provide. You know what I mean? That we all do.
And this acquisition of this building and this location as a community center is consistent with that business plan?
Yes.
Would you be willing to provide the business plan?
Yeah, I can show him the business plan. You do? Oh,
No,
yeah.
If, I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but there may be a decision to stay any decision pending the receipt and review of any business plan. And I would also just tell you that while I was sitting here, I looked on SDAT, and when you run your name in the business search, it does still say that this business is not in good standing. So I would ask that you submit, I believe you,
all right.
sir. I would just ask that you submit the notice indicating that
Okay,
it
I
was
can
in
do
good
that.
standing as well.
I can do that. That's not a problem.
Okay.
I can
That's no
say
problem.
right now, unless I see specifics as to what this program is, I'm gonna be a no vote on it.
I have a question
So
about
I'm
the,
suggesting they might wanna think about this a little bit more.
Yeah, business plan.
Yeah, I could, like I said, I can provide the 5-year business plan. I can provide, you know what I mean, the different programs and
To the
stuff.
community as well, because obviously, as you've heard from the councilman here and the letter, one of their biggest concerns is that it's unclear, it's not super clear to them what will be happening in this space, which
Right.
is.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem. Yeah, but I mean, like I was saying, that the councilman we've been to 5 different association meetings and he hasn't been there, so we haven't had a chance to even talk to him.
We know who he is now, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have
question
a-
about the driving school. Is there a driving school on the property?
No,
Okay.
That would be.
no. That was a pride thing. That's how we found out that the facility is. Yeah, that's how. Yeah, that's how we found out that the facility, because they couldn't use it as a driving school, so that's why we asked could we use it for a community center.
So can we agree that we're gonna move on from this one and just wait for the submission of the business plan and the
I can do that.
letter of good standing?
I think
Yeah.
that's fair.
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
And
not,
please provide the same to the community, like I said, okay?
yeah, that's not a problem at all. Like I said, we've been going through all the meetings trying to do that. So
So for the board, do we submit it across the street on the 9th floor?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
that's what we
thank
do. Okay, all right. I'll try to get it to you within a couple of days, huh?
I'd suggest you involve the council.
Oh, well, we got this card, he got our card, so, you know what I mean, I don't have any problems
I
providing
have all that
anything.
information.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a senior center less than a quarter mile away. It's it's one of the most widely used senior centers in Baltimore City. It has a food bank. It needs volunteers. I think if there's a desire to simply altruistically provide volunteer services to connect seniors to food and to connect services to seniors, like there's a lot of opportunity right there that doesn't require this use being attributed to this building. You know,
But we're not only just trying to help seniors.
I don't think we need
don't
to,
wanna talk about it anymore.
I don't think we need to hear anything else today.
Okay.
Let's wait and see the business plan
Okay.
and we can take it.
All right, thank you.
All right, good luck to you. Calling the case of, where are we now? Interrupted to go to that one.
366?
Yeah. Case number 2019-366, 3200 Fate Avenue, Bay Management. Thanks. Hello.
Say for the record that Bay Management is a client of mine, so I need to recuse.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, then let me make also this announcement. If you are recused from this, we have one other board member who will not be voting, so there would be 3 board members. And under our 3 board member rule, decision has to be unanimous. And so we offer appellants and anyone in the opposition the opportunity to postpone that matter if they'd like a fuller board decision. So I will offer that to you, given that we would have 3 board members voting on their application.
I think I'll move forward.
Very well. Your name, ma'am?
I'm sorry?
Your name?
Kelly Stinson.
Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
And Ms. Stinson, this is a request by Bay Management to use the first floor as an office. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, do we have any staff reports?
Yes, Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that this property has previously had its ground floor or first floor level used for a commercial establishment. Therefore, the building qualifies for the neighborhood commercial establishment designation. The department is recommending approval of this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Ms. Stinson, can you tell us about your project?
Yes, so this would be used as an office. There would be about 3, people, staff inside. They are taking phone calls. They provide services to elderly patients. They go to their homes and, sit with them while their families are not home. They provide rehabilitation services and things like that. This office is just for making those appointments.
The administrative function of that business?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Any questions from the board?
I'm good.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Stinson.
Thank you.
Calling case number 2019-371, 5700 Lock Raven Boulevard, Harry Connolly.
Yeah, you're good.
Hello, I'm Harry Conley on behalf of Huber Memorial Church. I'm the applicant. I'd like to introduce would you want to step over here? They're the people that are in opposition. Sure, you aren't one of them. Okay. I'd like to introduce my people here. Let's see, this is Mr. George Van Hook, and this is Murray Moulton, and Charlie Musall is the sign manufacturer. What we wish to do, and the Department of Planning had made it clear that electronic message centers are not viable in a zone R5. Do you have? Yes?
Well, let me just state this. Let me state this for the record, first of all, that this is a request to erect a 145 square foot V-shaped monument sign.
Yes, that's correct.
Finished in the street corner, front yard, 66.64 square feet of fixed sign area, and 78.4 square feet of electronic sign area.
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Does the rest of the board have copies of the sign with the location?
I don't,
One.
we have drawings. but
We
don't
have a number of.
Yeah, let me give them to you.
schematics.
Here you are.
Very well. And you were introducing your folks, but
Okay.
you need to be sworn.
Oh, wow.
I do. Electronic message centers have gotten a bad name because a lot of them scroll and it's a distraction to traffic. However, the surrounding counties allow them, and Baltimore County can change them once every 3 seconds. Howard County, on the other hand, is once a day. So we're looking for the board's guidance as to, what we will allow. And with that, I'd like to call our community relations person, Mr. Van Hook.
Before you go forward, I'm gonna need to get the staff reports. Before you get into your presentation,
Sure.
you guys have to be sworn if you haven't been. Have you been sworn yet? All right, you've been
Yes.
sworn. Let me get the staff reports, and then I'll let you proceed.
Okay, it's fine with me.
Do we have any staff reports for this property?
Yes, we do have a letter of opposition in the file from the Lock Raven Improvement
sir.
Association. Thank you. States, the Lock Raven Improvement Association vehemently opposes the zoning variance proposed for this property for the sign that was mentioned in the appeal. For the following reasons. The proposed structure violates the zoning ordinance for required regulations and distance within a residential district. The proposed structure will visually detract from the facade of the community. The proposed structure may devalue adjacent residents and religious institutions in the immediate area. The proposed structure may initiate a domino effect of similar construction throughout the neighborhood, which will be especially inappropriate. Applicant has waived an open and transparent appeals process by erecting the appeal notification sign in an obscure manner by what appears to be an intentional attempt to limit visibility of such posting directly behind the Maryland Transit Authority bus shelter on a less traveled and less visible public thoroughfare. Applicant has elected to exclude the neighborhood association in the conversation, dialogue, or discussion in matters relating to the proposed construction and its possible cause and effect on the community. It's in the best interest of the Lock Raven Improvement Association, its residents, and entities. We thank you for denying any permit application or licensure request for this address relating to the proposed sign. Signed, Malik Mosley, President, Alec Whedon, Vice President, Lock Raven Improvement Association.
Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that this property is zoned R5. The sign table in the zoning code, table 17-201, does not authorize an electronic or electronic message sign in the R5 zoning district. The portion of the table, in fact, refers to districts R5 through R7. There's districts that do not allow that. Therefore, the proposed sign is prohibited from including or containing an electronic display screen. The department recommends disapproval of the application because the zoning code does not authorize electronic signs, including signs containing electronic display screens, in the R5 zoning district where the property is located. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Mr. Connolly,
Yes.
given planning's statements with regard to the prohibition of the electronic signs, one, are you able to speak to that, and are you aware of any plan afoot for possible changes to the zoning code to maybe address these kinds of signs in the near future? Are you aware of that?
Mr. Fields, we're relying on your advice and guidance in this because we originally were going to cancel this hearing, and what we'd like to do is come up with an equitable solution and then come back with a formal hearing based on your guidance.
It's really up to you.
Well, it is, and I certainly can't guide you with regard to that. I think it's helpful for you to have some information. Is that fair?
Right
As
now,
to
the
what's-
code would prevent us, right, from approving your request, but there is an amendment to the current code in the works that has obviously not even been sent to the city council to look at, right? And that it would have to be deliberated and talked about, and that wouldn't happen until the spring. So if the code is then amended, it would be right now, the board doesn't have discretion on this issue.
Okay.
But given certain actions in the future, including the presentation of an amendment and possible new codification of that, that likely would give the board
Discretion. And location-based discretion, like in such a location like this, where there's a hospital across the street, there aren't a lot of residences around it. So, are we able to postpone it as far out as May, or no? We can? So you would have to ask for that, we obviously can't.
Yeah, it would, we can grant a postponement if you would like to entertain that, to allow you to have your matter still present before the board, but so you don't have to do the process all over.
Okay.
But what we're saying to you is that it's unlikely that anything in the code could change our ability to hear this and to give you some relief before the spring, before April. And we can postpone it, I think, as long as you'd like, without you having to start the process over again and file a new application. And because there are rules associated with renewing or redoing a new application. So I think the shorter time to get you back before us would be a postponement.
And just like there was a city council member here from another district, there's city council for the area that this church is located.
Have you talked to your council person?
Yes. To give a little bit more background on this, would it help to call on the people from Huber Memorial Church?
I don't think so.
Not at this time.
Because the end result is
Still.
we're still precluded.
the same.
Yeah,
The
from-
code has to be changed.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's where we are, unfortunately, given your location and given what it is you're trying to do. And as Mr. French said, as specifically as electronic billboards are earmarked in the code as being prohibited, there's not any leeway that we have. But there may be down the road if you're willing to wait that process out.
Okay. Good.
So, let me just ask one question. Even if there are other digital signs in our area, we're still prohibited from?
I would defer you to what planning stated as to what the code currently states.
One fact that may be at play is those signs may have been approved under the terms of the previous zoning code prior to 2017.
Right.
This is the current zoning code, and the current zoning code does not
Code was
allow
amended in
the
2017.
electronic sign
In a large
in
way.
the R5 district.
Okay.
We just happen to move there.
There you have it. As they say, timing is everything and nothing, right?
It is under review at present time.
Well, there's, my
So
understanding.
the zoning code is periodically reviewed. Typically, it's done once a year, and we're in that phase right now. So that's why reaching out to your city council member with your particular issue would be helpful right now. I believe those amendments will be going in the next 30 days. But because of the city council process, it does take some time once they're submitted for review. That's certainly up to you in terms of how you would like to proceed, but it's certainly helpful to have facts, including neighboring jurisdictions, in terms of how they authorize or don't authorize something like electronic signs. But as the chairman kind of indicated, the ability for the applicant to postpone a case keeps it alive, right? So you don't have to refile, you don't have more filing fees. It basically stays the case, keeps it alive. We look at cases that are 12 months old, and then we start to dismiss them. So you would essentially have 12 months of time to do whatever you'd like to do before the case would be up for dismissal for lack of prosecution. So you would have a year's time until next November to, proceed however you would like to proceed. But it keeps it active. It doesn't, take away that.
Give you the opportunity to track the progress of whatever is about to happen.
Yes.
Or the process to initiate new code changes.
Okay. We're asking for your recommendations on a postponement in the event that some matters might change or the code might change.
I will take that as a request for a postponement.
Okay.
And no objection from the board.
Let's go on record as a...
Grant your postponement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
case of 2019-372, 1411 Warner Street. Ms. Dalmsall? Request to consolidate 1411 Warner Street and 301 Stockholm Street and construct an outdoor recreation facility. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Good afternoon, folks.
Good afternoon.
All right, we swear the parties.
Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Do we have any staff reports?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Dalmsall, the floor is yours.
Great. We are here on behalf of Topgolf for a conditional use authorization for an outdoor recreation facility in a C5 DC district. Topgolf's location in Baltimore is really long time coming. It's been a major economic development initiative here in the city. The project is a joint initiative of the city and BDC, Topgolf, as well as the Horseshoe Casino. As you'll hear from BDC, the project is part of the city's master plan for an expanded entertainment district on Warner Street. The land is currently owned by the city and will be disposed of to Topgolf via a land disposition agreement. So with me today is John Larry of my firm, Jessica Sandberg of Topgolf, and Kim Clark of BDC. So I'll hand over to Ms. Clark and Ms. Sandberg to give a bit more context about the project, and then I will come back and discuss the conditional use.
Very well.
Hi, Kim Clark, Executive Vice President with Baltimore Development Corporation. I apologize for my voice, however y'all may think it sounds, but thank you. When we built, I did it personally, brick by brick, the Horseshoe Casino, we were mandated by law as to where that casino could be located. Once we built the casino, we took a look, and if you look one way, there's a casino, and if you look the other way, there's M&T Bank Stadium. And then there's this probably 90-foot-long roadbed, kind of ignored, sidewalks about this wide, and we saw a great opportunity to create an entertainment district along that corridor. We conducted a couple studies, had some fancy drawings done by architects, and we found that it was very viable. So in working with the Horseshoe Casino, the Caesars folks, as well as the local partners in the casino, we decided to move forward in looking at what properties could be developed into entertainment uses. And we were looking to provide a variety of uses that stretch the gamut, from family uses to live entertainment, sports-related events. And along came Topgolf, our perfect partner. We see Topgolf as the major impetus behind really starting this district. We have other projects coming online. When we looked at the zoning code and the redo of the zoning code, it was important for us to have that downtown zoning, so to speak, even though it wasn't downtown. So when you try to talk about how such and such isn't allowed downtown, this isn't really downtown, even though it's a downtown zoning. We had a variety of reasons for doing that. We feel that this is a great filler for that entertainment district. One thing to note, if you've never been to a Topgolf facility, well, shame on you. You really should go. They're really a lot of fun. But second off, it's not a driving range. It's truly a sort of a themed restaurant that's golf related. There's a 3-level facility that has an outdoor target area. Everything's electronic, modern. You're playing a target game with a ball that has a computer chip in it, and it's almost like a bowling frame that you're bowling a game against your competitors. They do offer all sorts of things. It has a full-service restaurant. One thing to note, and Jess, I'm always stealing your thunder, I'm so sorry. Whenever a Topgolf locates to an area, it becomes the biggest draw for corporate team building exercises. So we think that's a terrific thing for Baltimore, and we're very excited about it and hope you give positive consideration. And I can answer any questions. Again, I don't want to steal Jess's thunder about Topgolf.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Hey there, my name is Jessica. I'm on the real estate development team for Topgolf, so really excited to be here. We've been working on this project for many, many years. As Kim was talking about the description of the venue, I was curious how many of you have been to a Topgolf?
They all said, oh, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, 2. So, for those of you who aren't familiar, the venue that we're proposing here is a 3-level building with about 90 hitting bays. And the way our game works is that there's a microchip in a golf ball and then there's the outfield with targets. So you'll go up to the tee line and you'll hit the ball into the outfield. And if you make it into a target, the microchip in the ball will register in the target, and that's how you get points. And you can play, each bay holds up to about 6 people, so you can play competitively. So that is one aspect of the venue. We really consider ourselves an entertainment space. So along with the Topgolf game, we also have full bar and restaurant. You can really order food anywhere or drinks anywhere within the venue. We also have live entertainment out on our patio, which is on the 1st level, and then there's a terrace on the 3rd level as well. We do, I would say, about 50% of our revenue is generated from events, so we are a huge destination for companies, and it's not even just corporate events. We have birthday parties, we have a lot of youth activities there, so we do really encourage schools to bring their youth programs to us. We offer free golf. You can hit off the tee lines into the outfield for free from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. if you're a part of a school team. Or we also donate up to $1,000 for any organization that is through a school or a charity that supports youth. So we do as much as we can to involve the kids into our venue, and then also we try to empower our local associates. If there's any sort of community service event that they feel passionate about, Topgolf will give them the funds that they need to either contribute or participate or host something at our venue as well. So those are just some of the things of how we try to get involved in the community. I think I touched on how the game works.
Since I'm one of the unlucky few who has
Sure.
not attended a Topgolf facility, where is the closest one to this location now?
So we actually have 3 in Maryland. So we have National Harbor, which is in D.C., and then we have Germantown. Oh, okay. Towards Virginia. So then we have Germantown.
Okay.
I believe Germantown would be the closest one for you. Is that about
Yeah, it's kind of split between National Harbor and
Yeah. And then, I'm sorry, I should have touched on this, but each bay is, we have heaters, so you can play year-round. It doesn't matter how cold it gets. We have one out in Minnesota, and they're playing in -degree weather, so.
Yeah, I'm excited about the tying in youth programs to it, because you get video, anything arcadey, and golf. My son would love it, so look forward to it. Wonderful.
Awesome. Any other questions for me?
Any more questions from you?
Just real quick, can you speak to the expected employment numbers at this location?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. So for this particular venue, we're between part-time and full-time, we'll have about 400 jobs.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome.
So as we mentioned, we're here for conditional use authorization for outdoor recreation. There's also 2 other matters covered in the application, which is the consolidation of 1411 Warner Street and 301 Stockholm Street, and confirmation from the planning department that the W2 overlay district requirements are met. That's not before the board, but as a matter of administrative efficiency, planning requested that we include that in our application. So recreation outdoor is defined as predominantly participant recreation activities or games of skill that are not conducted within a wholly enclosed building. So that's the appropriate use when you look at sort of how the building is constructed, that there is a building there, but it's not wholly enclosed, and the game of skill is played sort of from the outside of the building. The primary activity at Topgolf is the game of skill. I think we've sort of covered how the game works, and we included in the materials to the board a reference image of a hitting bay where you can see the screen where you would select the type of game that you want to play, and that would also show the score as you go along. As we mentioned, there's also a full bar and restaurant, the patio space where they plan to have live music, and as well as indoor event space as well. With respect to the conditional use standards, I included in the written submission a full record of that, so it's in the record. I can give a summary, and then if there are any questions, I'm happy to discuss anything further. So the site is currently underutilized. It's the surface parking lot on Warner Street, which is currently used a very small time of the year by the Ravens, and then the city's Barks Animal Shelter. Construction of the new upgraded city animal shelter is underway in Cherry Hill. It's under construction now. So certainly Topgolf would be an economically productive use in this site. As Kim mentioned, this would build upon the Warner Street Entertainment District in connection with the establishment and expansion of this district. There was considerable streetscaping planned for Warner Street to narrow down to one lane, make a wider pedestrian path, and generally make it more inviting to pedestrians, appropriate for an entertainment district. This is currently really a secluded site. It's bounded by the MTA light rail on the east, the CSX freight line north of Stockholm Street to the north, Ridgely's Cove to the south, and then just the casino, obviously, to the west. So there's really little impact on neighbors because there's not a lot of neighbors. Topgolf requires a large site for their use, as you might imagine, and this site is about 6 acres, so it's an appropriate site for this use. And the last point I wanted to touch on was the urban renewal plan. As Kim mentioned, when the city was looking to attract Topgolf in 2016, the mayor and city council enacted an ordinance to amend the urban renewal plan, the Carroll Camden urban renewal plan, specifically for the Topgolf use. So Mr. Baumgartner mentioned that he wanted a record, this to be submitted into the record in case you guys didn't have it. So I would just highlight that the disposition, it's disposition lot 1 is 1411 Warner Street, and it's designated in the amendment to the URP redevelopment for retail parking and or outdoor recreational facility use. And so that's the use that the mayor and city council legislatively defined for the Topgolf use. With that, any questions?
I think we are all
I don't have any
eagerly
questions except when will it be open? Okay. The pictures look great, super exciting.
What's even more exciting is the new animal shelter that's being built in Cherry Hill. It's fabulous. It's undercover now. The walls are up. So as soon as that's completed and we move the animals over, then we can start construction on Topgolf. There's a lot of environmental remediation and critical area mitigation that's going to be done as a result of this project, thus improving the Gwynns Falls trails and the environment
Everybody
through
wins.
that. Yep, it's so good. It's just a very complicated project.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, she was postponed. 70, what do I have here? That one's gone. That one's postponed. Call the case of 2019-374, 300 Stinson Street. Ilyas Terzi?
Yes, sir.
Come on up, sir. Is a request to use premises for storage of truck and auto parts, auto body repair shop, trash and shipping container storage, and metal granite workshop. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
All right. Do we swear the witness, please?
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right. Do we have any staff reports?
Yes, Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that this property is currently zoned OR1, Office Residential. In that particular zoning district, storage and repair of trucks and automobiles, auto body repairs, shipping container storage, and metal and granite work are not listed as permitted or conditional uses, and so are not allowed. The particular property was last authorized for use as a contractor's storage yard, and its owner was attempting to obtain a use and occupancy permit for a food processing facility, which are also prohibited or non-conforming uses in the OR district. According to the records available to the Planning Department, this property was the subject of a vacant building notice in 2007, with a second vacant building notice issued in 2017. And there is no record of active non-conforming uses of the property following issuance of these notices. The department therefore recommends disapproval of the application because the combination of motor vehicle service and repair, warehousing, and light industrial use proposed is prohibited in the office residential zoning district where the property is located, and the zoning code does not authorize creation of new non-conforming uses, which these uses would be in the OR zoning district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Mr. Jersey?
Yes.
Having heard from planning.
Yes.
What say you?
Well, property located in pretty much very rough part of the Baltimore city, and it's been vacant probably more than 10, 15 years, owned by the church, donated to the church. It used to be, I guess, food processing center, and before the zoning change, it used to be heavy industrial zone property, and the city had the hands on it. They could have kept it, but the problem they run into it, they were going to give up a lot of money, which is the property had a lot of liens and taxes. You can name it about $60,000 to $70,000. And on the other hand, they have to. Some people dumped the trash, full of trash was inside the building, and nobody could go in that street because of kind of people call spooky. And I don't know if the right word. And so city authorized to sell it to me for pay off debt, and plus they get away from the spending hundreds of thousands of dollars cleanup and demolition, all that thing. And then they even recommended me to apply for grandfather and zoning application permit before the zoning change come to the law, which I have that, which is the draft I have. And so as soon as I apply for it, I talked to the city. They say it's good to go. So I started working on the property. It takes a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of chunk of money to do immediately, so I did this slowly. But because I knew the time is an essence, so I work on the power to get the power to the building, so exit signs. So once I get that draft, so the inspector has to inspect, the fire inspector, they're going to inspect the electricity exit sign. So it dragged on Baltimore City literally 2 years. I have all the papers. Nothing I could do. Every time that I respond them, it took them 3 months to respond back. I have the dates, all the file, and if you guys have it. And I get three-phase electricity. I spent $25,000 on just the electricity, permits and plans. And then you go to the city, go to the power company, to the city, the power company, to the city. It drives me crazy. Therefore, I felt like nothing I can do. I don't know what to do. You can't even go to the office building power company to ask him, get my power on. No, you have to call them on. If they respond, they respond. If they respond, it takes them 3 months, and then they find some flaws. It takes me longer to go to city. So make it short, it took me 2 years to get the electricity there. All in the record. All already on the files. And then end of 2008, because it delayed so long, I went to the city. I said, look, I applied this permit. I want to make sure it's still good because they have a delay. And she looked at it. She says, no, just call the power company, fire department. So I'm thinking it's going to be another month, next month. It's still delayed. So finally, there is no expiration date on the paper, as you can see on the draft. So somehow they decide to cancel it, my original draft. So pretty much I'm here to reclaim my draft. And I spent $250,000. If the city wants the property, they could have had it. Or if they still want it now, they can still have it. I can sell it to them, whatever it cost me. The property cost me $250,000. And I have all the BG, my check, my emails,
And
the
so
date to date.
You're suggesting that, or you stated that you were going to be, your understanding was you would be grandfathered in under the old code.
Correct. They recommend, yes, yes. That's why they took my money, and I put more money into it, because that's the worst place. And also, all the properties around there, they're all industrial. And the right side is the property is industrial, left side is industrial. They used to be all heavy industrial, but they turned into the MIU. So this is the only property in the middle now. They try to keep it all on R. I mean, after I dumped this money, nobody could pay me even $50,000 as O&R.
Just have to ask a question of Mr. Baumgartner if you know, and I'm only we're getting this information about.
I mean, they helped me out in the city building, in that same building that, you know, the 14th floor or 9th floor, I'm not sure.
So when I'm looking at, including what the applicant has submitted, and then we pulled some of the permit history here, I mean, I think the issue is that permit, which you submitted, is still in draft stage, so the actual permit itself was never issued.
Correct, because of the
Looks like there were
power,
multiple-
so I couldn't get into fire inspection, because the fire guy I know, he would ask exit signs, a light power toilet.
There are several references in the permit history to electrical permits that were
correct,
attempted to be obtained, and for
Yes.
whatever reason were not obtained. So
I mean, I did everything in my power that I could get that power in. It took them 2 years. It's not even funny. I mean, I have all the contact information, BEG. I have all the records from the emails with the dates. I wrote in the emails so make it kind of easier. I don't know if he has the same file that I put it in.
So what I'm looking at is the permit request for the use is dated
right before the zoning change.
prior to the enactment of Transform Baltimore. So the use and occupancy was applied for under the old zoning code, which would have grandfathered in the use, I believe, as a contractor storage yard. Is that correct?
I'm not sure.
Which would have been allowed in the prior zoning district, which was industrial. So the question before the board is a question of whether or not the filing for a UNO and the permit history is enough evidence that the board would consider it a lawfully existing non-conforming use. So in this case, it would be a non-conforming use that would have been allowed by right in that prior zoning district, but as a result of the zoning code change in the district, would then make it non-conforming. So essentially, these cases typically revolve around, you know, are you open, are you operating, do you have customers, or, but there's nothing in the zoning code that I can think of, and Mr. French can correct me, that would remove the authority of the board if you are in the process of obtaining proper permits, but for whatever reason don't have that permit in hand at the time that that switch occurs. So if the board is convinced with what it has before it, or if it wants additional information that the applicant was pursuing that use as a lawfully existing non-conforming use, it could potentially approve it as a continuing non-conforming use. Or if the board is not convinced and that the evidence before it is not sufficient to show that that was being diligently pursued, it would be denied, saying that the non-conforming use was had been discontinued.
Did you want to admit that?
Do you guys have the copies or no? I mean, I gave all the copies down there, but
This is
I usually have to use my draft there.
Sure.
Also.
Yep. And we have this for the record. It looks like what you had given to the chairman were BGE records and other various items that the board can look through.
Or the BG, you can contact the numbers. I put it there as well.
I can certainly say your presentation is fairly convincing that you've been doing.
I've been working on it since I purchased it. I've been cleaning and trying to get the power.
Tell me again when you purchased the property.
I'm not sure, but right before the zoning change, I would say 16, maybe 17. I can look it up on my phone and the tax record. I can pull it up pretty.
So I'm looking at records from BG&E in 2018. I'm looking at records dated in the fall of 2017.
Yes.
From Corey Schuett, Engineering and Design. Who is that in relation to what you were trying to accomplish? Oh, BG&E.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Engineering Design.
Because they come back with all kinds of excuses, and it's not real. I mean, 2 years to
September.
get power, it's not.
September 2017, Mr. Terzi, I'll be working on getting the electric service and meters to your project. Again, I have a few questions for you.
And then, yep.
January 2017, in demo process, miscellaneous, let's see. Ownership, documentation. There's a note here, there have been multiple applications submitted requesting electrical service for a use that is no longer allowed. This is dated April 15th, 2019. Clearly, you were seeking to get that in.
I mean, I just spent a 3-phase electricity. The final they get it, I spent about $25,000 just to put in the wall. They didn't even put new pole. They used the existing pole as well. I don't know how the people operate in Baltimore. Just the BG couldn't get the power. It takes 2 years. I just don't get it.
And for the board's information, the prior zoning district, that if the board agrees that the applicant had made diligent efforts to act on that prior use and occupancy application, the prior zoning district was an M2 zoning district.
Heavy industrial. They're all heavy industrial, all that along.
The permitted uses in an M2, just outright permitted by right, include aircraft manufacturing, automobile manufacturing, fabrication, batteries,
Yes.
bottle manufacturing, building and lumber material sales. I mean, it was heavy industry, and
also it's stated
So it would've
there
been
they
allowed.
might use the same use. I put it there
Not
because they
sure.
approved. Otherwise, they will not approve it.
Okay. Well, tell me, remind the board chair what the effective date of the new zoning code.
June 5th, 2017.
Yes.
And the permits were submitted either in January or February of 2017, and then they worked their way through the system until their present day.
I'm convinced. Well, thank you for.
No, thank you.
providing
It's
that
my job to
information.
prove it to you that I worked on it.
Okay, are there any questions from the board?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Terzi. I
Thank you, sir.
appreciate your
Thank you.
presentation.
All of you.
What else are they gonna put there?
One more.
It's
Yeah,
still
we
a
have one more.
junkyard. Case number 2019-376, 1229 South Clinton Street. Bringing up the rear, thank you. Mr. Jeff Bornador?
Personal, don't worry.
Okay,
Last but not least.
all right. Sir, this is a request to construct a 3-story rear addition, a deck at 3rd floor rear leading to a rooftop deck and a 1-story detached garage in the rear. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. You swear the witness?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Do you have any staff reports?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Mr. Warner-Dorf, can you tell us about your project?
Yes, sir. It's a current 3-story residential unit in Clinton Street in the Canton neighborhood. The property is in a semi-dilapidated state, very dated. My company has renovated over 100 properties in Canton and Federal Hill. And this is a typical layout we have found that meets the demands and is desirable for the current occupants that we sell to in Canton. So it has it's an existing 3 stories as it is. It expands into the rear, has a rooftop deck which is very popular in the neighborhood, and gives us an increased living square footage, and has a detached one-car garage, just a one-level garage which does sit off the alley to help the swing, and so we don't have full lot coverage here, and just overall some desirable amenities that we have executed and used before in the neighborhood.
Why such a really big garage?
Well, the garage is 16 feet wide by 24 feet deep. 16 feet in width is generally you're not the bare minimum, but it does allow you to park 2 cars in, side by side, and allows you to open the door. Sometimes that's forgotten. 24 feet, the depth we find are typical vehicles. SUVs are 18 to 20 feet. Cars can be 15 to 16. The garage door takes up usually about a foot. The door, when it closes, is encompassed within that 24 feet, so you need space for that. And then there's some modern codes that they apply to this, a fire door and fire-rated drywall, which can take up room inside of the garage. So this is the amount of space our architect felt would allow for those things.
So is the answer that there wasn't a choice, basically? In
Yes.
order for you to fit the cars and meet with the code, it needed to be this big?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all we need to hear.
Okay, excellent.
Anything you'd like to add?
No, I was worried with all the documentation he had. I have 3 sheets here. I don't have anything else to add.
Now, you wore the right jacket, so come
Yeah.
on in. All right, well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you. Yes, we are.
Hummer, stretch limit.